founding director of the center and a professor of comparative literature and cultural studies at Uconn Stanford. Which all of you know her probably. At any rate, the Center for Judaic Middle Eastern Studies has established name recognition and prestige, which we're very proud of. Our outreach programs have been very successful. They've been very well attended by the Stanford community, attracting large and diverse audiences, both Jewish and non-Jewish, including professionals and corporate executives. The Center for Judaic Studies at Uconn was founded in 1981, and it has two important missions. The first is to coordinate, promote, and expand the undergraduate courses in Judaic and Middle Eastern Studies. And the second is to offer outreach courses, thus exposing the community and college students to the most learned in Jewish scholarship today. I'd like to talk just a little bit about the outreach programs. The annual Louis J. Kuriansky Conference has always been very well attended. 3 years ago, we changed the format from a Sunday day event to a weekday evening event to attract a wider audience, including university students and faculty, and we were very successful in that. We found that many more students and faculty attended once it was done during the week. Last year, our keynote speaker was Dr. Susanna Heschel of Dartmouth College, and her topic was Narratives of the Holy, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam in the Modern Jewish Imagination. And this was preceded by a community dinner and reception, and then it was followed by an interfaith panel with a Q&A discussion. And I'll just tell you, the panelists were very well received by everyone who was there. I don't know whether any of you were there. It was Dr. Junan Greeley from Sacred Heart, Rabbi Hammerman from Bethel, Reverend Tommy Jackson from the Faith Tabernacle Baptist Church, and Dr. James Jones from Manhattanville College. And it was really an exceptional event, and I'm sorry you weren't there. I know that you all have some packets, and there are flyers for many of the events, but I'll just briefly explain them. The Fall Lunch and Learn series, a kaleidoscope of the Jewish experience in history and literature, with Dr. Elisheva Carlsbach of Columbia University, Dr. Joel Glad of Uconn Stanford, Dr. Michelle Frame of Worcester Polytechnic, and Dr. Ashkenazi were the speakers. The Spring Lunch and Learn series continued the Jewish experience in history and literature, and we had Dr. Glenn Diner of Sarah Lawrence College, Dr. Leo LaRoche of Uconn Stanford, Dr. Ashkenazi, and Renee Kahn, who formerly taught at Uconn but is retired, and you may all know her from her historical art perspective point of view, and it was quite interesting. But in the fall, we have a very impressive array of activities, including the Kuriansky Conference, which I know you all want to be present at. We have the Most Reverend Monsignor David M. Yeager, and he's coming here from Rome, Italy.
Wow, that's cool.
Yes, and his keynote will be My 20 Years Negotiating Between the Vatican and Israel, Lessons for Peace in the Land.
When he was here 20 years ago, may I?
Sure,
And the
please.
Vatican, if you remember, the Vatican recognized the state of Israel 20 years ago. That was not only a political statement, but of course a theological statement. And he was here and he spoke about, he discussed how it came about, and the advocate was here at the time, press, the press was more important at the time of print press, so they came and they covered it, and it was a wonderful event. I saw recently that he had been appointed by Pope John Paul II to the Roman Rota, which is the I didn't know what it is, as probably no one here knows, but it's this Supreme Court of the Vatican. So he we are friends, and he agreed to come all the way from Rome here. So Nina will tell you, it's really cool for us to get him. Everyone is very impressed, and
Well, there'll also be, before his lecture, there will be a community,
interfaith community.
a dinner. And then after that, the following day, you will have, more of a conversation with him, and that will be primarily for students, but also for the community, the general community as a whole. And I think it's going to be wonderful. There is not a flyer in your packet about that yet.
Okay.
We don't have all the finalized details. So.
What date is it?
It's the 22nd will be his keynote, and it will be followed by an interfaith.
October 27th.
October 22nd.
That's good, thank
October
you.
22nd, and then there'll be a luncheon the following day. This one is going to be an evening thing, a luncheon on campus for the students mainly, a conversation with Father Yeager.
As far as the undergraduate courses, the classes range, and this information is in your packets, it ranges from about 25 to 35 students per course, both Jewish and non-Jewish, and so that means about 120 students per semester. And by the way, in addition, we have seen an increase in the number of students, the adult students who audit the courses, and that number has been expanding. As a matter of fact, Nahama was saying that there were a couple of courses that they didn't take on audits. But some of the courses that were offered this semester, I'll just give you a few of them. Literature and Civilization of the Jewish People, American Diplomacy in the Middle East, the Holocaust, Modern Middle East politics, women in literature, religion and politics, and so there's a wide range of courses. The center also offers a certificate program in Judaic and Middle Eastern Studies, and this program serves as an academic concentration for Uconn undergraduates, Jewish and non-Jewish. The center also functions as a de facto Hillel. The number of Jewish students has increased, and we need to provide them with some Hillel-type services. Our large conference room / library is a focal point for the students to congregate, but we don't have a paid professional staff to staff this room. But what we do have is our part-time program associate, Rebecca Rebecca. And she's there a few days a week, and she, facilitates those students who want to stop in, get books, and, just talk or whatever, and we're trying to encourage more student participation. One thing I'd like to add is that our commitment to fostering understanding through the interfaith programs and seminars makes us, I think, a very necessary part of the community. Our courses create a bridge between the Jewish and the non-Jewish community. And since many of the students are not Jewish, the courses enable the spread of knowledge about Judaism, I think, in a very positive way. So why do we need to raise money for the community? Well, like all university-based Jewish studies programs throughout the U.S., the center at Uconn, Stanford, is dependent upon donations from the community. Comparable academic centers are funded by federations, by individual donors, and endowments. Keep in mind that there are close to 200 centers like ours that exist in the U.S., and it's very important to have the University of Judaic Studies Center, especially in light of all the Arab investments in universities around the country. I brought this with me in case anybody just wants to take a look at it. It was in a periodical from the ABL, and it's The article is how anti-Israel are campuses. And what this whole article, I'll pass it around if anybody wants to take a look, but what they said was that their research has determined that more than 100 college campuses have active anti-Israel groups and numerous programs that seek to demonize Israel by painting it as an apartheid state or comparing its policies to those of Nazi Germany. And that these groups are growing, and that there have been dozens of chapters this year giving presence at more than 75 universities across the country. So I'll just, pass it around, just, take a look and see if there's anything that you'd like to see about it. But getting back to our fundraising is, all of our fundraising is done by our advisory board, and we do not have a paid professional fundraiser. And while the center's academic credit courses are largely, but not entirely funded by the university, the community outreach and our interfaith programming is funded by minimal admissions and fees by donors. That's it. Uconn supplies us with a computer for office, provides the center with a large conference room, office supplies, some clerical assistance, and internet. But in turn, the university anticipates that the center will independently generate funds, and Uconn Stanford expects a strong showing of community support. So it's imperative that the level of giving on the part of the Jewish community sends the appropriate message back to the university that the Jewish community views the center as important and its continued success is vital. While the university is short of funds, it's kept the Jewish Studies Center open for students because of the community support. As I say, the university expresses its recognition of the need for our programs by approving new credit courses in Judaic and Middle Eastern studies. And that's the bottom line. If we don't raise money, they will not recognize our programs and they will not continue to increase the courses. So now, I know that one of the questions is, what would we do if we don't get the needed funds? Well, we're continuing to cut our expenses as much as possible. We have less fancy brochures, we have fewer of them, we're sending more emails, but you can't reach everyone that way, so we still have some mailings. We're also trying to raise additional funds from current donors and requesting that they possibly increase their donations, and we're looking into additional naming opportunities. Now, during this last year, a few of our long-time supporters and donors have passed away, and we're working with their families to find ways to honor the memory of these individuals, and hopefully we'll be successful. Finally, the Center for Judaic and Middle Eastern Studies at Uconn Stanford is a vibrant and necessary part of the greater Stanford community. The importance of the center, however, is not only for the community at large, but it plays a critical role within the school's academic programs as well. I want to repeat this. With the Arab monies currently flowing in to the universities throughout the U.S., spreading Arab and Palestinian points of view, as well as anti-Jewish and anti-Israeli sentiments, now more than ever, Judaic studies programs at the university level are essential. And I hope you agree, and I know we are counting on your support.
Question?
Hope I didn't speak too
Lisa?
fast.
No, good. Lisa, go ahead.
Thank you. I know I am. Thank you so much. Jumping off of that, how could Stanford, how could the Center for Judaic Studies help to educate maybe the kids in Stanford who aren't attending university, Uconn or Stanford, before they go to college? Is there a possibility that it seems like this is something that you would
can't say there has been a good response to it, but they're always invited to be guests, etc. So, and you know, from time to time there is a very bright senior who takes a course with us as an AP course, you know. So it happened to us in the past, and I think maybe when Anat was there, was it? It doesn't happen all the time, but it does. But we always even tell the community in our publications that it's open to local students, you know, and we do contact Kulana from time to time to tell them. Like for instance, the conversation with Father Yeager certainly would be wonderful if they could come.
And you're saying that they, up to this point, they haven't really come in close.
Not in Rome, not in Rome. Not in Rome, and even on Sundays, you know, we used to have those curiosity conferences on Sundays, and we used to ask the precursor to Lando at that time. And sometimes, you know, if there was an interested teacher, they did come, they did bring in some students, but you're right, not in Rome. But this is something that maybe can be, you know, I think that's a good point actually. That before they go to college, and they usually go elsewhere, that we could get them here. We are open to that.
So my friend Karen just said we just saw BBYO, and that's a possible, avenue for you.
Growing,
And they're in
That's
college.
great.
That's great.
And maybe that, you know, you can call us and just remind us
Right.
if you would like to bring a group of students. Absolutely. To the interfaith discussion would be very interesting. And anything else?
I mean, I think particularly just how to deal with these anti-Israel sentiment on college campuses before they go off to college.
Okay, Mark?
Well, as I say, they're always welcome to come to any of the lectures, and even when they're, through the schools, or when we have tried to disseminate the information so that, if they are interested in the topic, right?
It's a great idea. The kids out would be good to
Or
see
not.
it like saying right now it's not as easy to write out, but I think he'd really be interested in that.
I just have two quick questions. I'll ask them both at the same time. One, you described yourself as the facto hero for the Jewish students over there. Do you have a sense as to how many of the students that is? Is the number increasing? And then the second question I just wanted to ask was the anti-Israel presence in college campuses. Have you seen any of that at Stanford?
Oh,
And if so, could you share some of that?
yes, I can. Shall I?
Let's start with how many people you think is first question.
Well, it's interesting that in my course, you know, you can't ask them if they're Jewish. It's usually either the name, or they come over to me and they tell me my father is Jewish, or that kind of thing. So I would say, let me just take as an example, just a recent course that I gave where I had 23 students. I would say that 4 were Jewish, but among the 4, one told me her father was Jewish, but she has, Jewish feelings, and this one actually graduated. So, I have to say, just as a digression, that I'm very proud of the fact that this federation has 2 of my former students. You have Anat and you have Rebecca, right?
Yes.
No? Rebecca Rouse? Rebecca Rouse was my student, she was my graduate student at schools, because every other fall I go to schools to teach a graduate course. So I was looking forward to meeting her again. 10 years ago I think she was my student. And Anat was even intern for us. I think through us, yes, I think through us she saw what the Jewish community is. She came from Israel, and this was a process of learning for her to know that this is such a strong community and what this community is.
Right. Now, Mark had a second question. Go ahead, Mark.
Yes. Oh, I'll give you an example. We brought Sal Shalom to campus last year. My good colleagues I've been at Uconn since 1980, they wrote letters against me behind my back all the way to the president. Now, some of them had the honesty to write me letters. How dare you bring, soldiers from an army who whose policies are, what did she write, suspect or unethical or something, or problematic. And that's the professor of history who is a friend of mine and for years. But then my director called me and she told me that Jeff Lefay and others, they wrote lectures behind my back. So there was that kind of promotion. But the other thing is that
So did they
I-
not come last year or this year? We did not have them this year.
we couldn't have them this year. There was too much of a commotion and it involved the director. Our director was really, I mean, it was a wonderful event.
It was.
It was a wonderful event and all the students came and the Israeli soldiers were wonderful and they were sitting with Pakistani guys and so on. But another example is we've had a professor of political science who is a colleague of mine and a very good friend, Jeff Lefay. He's so anti-Israel that you can't even talk to him. You know, it's beyond a conversation. So I give a course on Israeli and Middle Eastern literature, and he does Middle Eastern politics. They come to my courses. I know they are already poisoned because if you teach the literature, you have to study the history of Zionism, and they are poisoned already. And then there are, general sentiments on the part of the students. Human rights. Whenever there is a problem with human rights, it's not what's happening in Syria, God forbid, it's what happens with the Israeli army and that kind of thing. Oh yes. And when I go to conferences, all my colleagues tell me the situation is very bad. And it's not, in Berkeley, it's horrible in those very left-of-center universities. It's horrible.
If I could follow up, you mentioned that it's critical to have your courses to steer some of the
Yes.
non-Jews
Yes.
in a more neutral or positive direction. Can you share any thoughts about kids who may have come in either knowing nothing or maybe having been swayed by these people whom you may have given more breadth of understanding?
I have an essay that a Hispanic student wrote me 2 years ago. And actually, I should have brought it. I think I saved it. And he didn't take the Middle East course. He took a course that's called Introduction to Judaic Civilization and Literature. And I start from the Bible. I go all the way to Zionism. And he wrote me that he grew up in Washington Heights. And he wrote very bad English, I have to say, but his sentiments were in the right place. And that he always had very negative anti-Semitic attitudes to Jews. He even told me that among themselves, that to Jew you means to, cheat you. And how he came to change his views because of my course. Yes, we actually,
There was a large article about it in.
a few years ago, yes.
I think it was in Federation.
In the paper a few years ago. A few years ago,
It's a wonderful
in
article.
place of Rebecca, I had a young man who was Irish, but he had been my student. And he had been one of those students who was swayed by me and liked my courses. So he became my assistant for 4 years. So because he had been a student before, he went to the student to canvass them and to interview them. And then he put it together as an article, and it was in the paper. And I tell you, Nina, for the future, we should not assume that everyone who's sitting here knows our history and whatever, and we sometimes are afraid to repeat ourselves. But, there are always new people, and we should repeat ourselves. And yes, that was a few years ago. But thank you for the question, because we know what to do for next year, God willing.
We have time for one more question if someone has anything they want to ask.
What are you asking for? We're asking this year for $12,000. Now, what happened was that Father Yeager, Monsignor Yeager, is going to cost us a lot because he's coming all the way from Rome. And because he's coming from Rome, we want to really become the scholar in residence, and we give more, events and lectures than a usual, guest speaker. But I couldn't let it go. He said yes to me. I couldn't let it go. It's going to cost us more. And unfortunately, there have been a number of deaths recently by some of our founding board members. And working, Nina and I are working on, you know, going to the children, the heirs, the widower, and this and that. But, you know, we don't know how we will be working on it. And we plan to go this summer to do some,
So this
you know,
12,000
regular-
is towards that program?
yes, towards everything. We also support the academic program. I'll give you an example. We have achieved an extensive, a pioneering course in Holocaust that we established before they used to give. That was like 30 years ago. Two professors, professor of history and professor of Holocaust studies in Hamatech, they gave a joint course. He gave the history, she gave the history of the Holocaust. It has been a very unique and exceptional course, and as I said, the pioneer course in this country. I think you all know Nechama Tech. She's a great Holocaust scholar, one of the leading Holocaust scholars. And there was a movie based on one of her books just recently with Daniel Craig, by the way, with the new James Bond. But anyway, she is now retired. And Professor Black, while he can give the whole course himself, he's a little bit unique. So whenever she comes back, it's the center that pays her. And of course she's working now, so whatever she wants, we pay her.
All right, well, thank you very much for coming. If anyone has any questions they have, you can give them to me and we'll forward them on. So thank you very much.